President Biden is catching some heat from Republicans for marking Trans Day of Visibility today. It falls on March 31st every year, but this year's observance obviously happens to fall on Easter Sunday. Lucas Tomlinson is live at the White House to explain. Lucas.
Well, Jonathan, Trans Day of Visibility was created by an activist back in 2009, and Joe Biden was the first to recognize that day officially when he became president. This year, as you mentioned, it coincides with Easter. The president tweeting out just earlier today, quote, "On Transgender Day of Visibility, we celebrate the joy, strength, and absolute courage of some of the bravest people I know. Today, we show millions of transgender and non-binary Americans that we see them, they belong, and they should be treated with dignity and respect." House Speaker Mike Johnson rebuked Biden, saying, quote, "The Biden White House has betrayed the central tenet of Easter, which is the resurrection of Jesus Christ, banning sacred truth and tradition while at the same time proclaiming Easter Sunday as Transgender Day," in quotes, "is outrageous and abhorrent. The American people are taking note." Now, Georgia Democratic Senator Raphael Warnock, who's also a reverend, responded earlier.
This is just one more instance of folks who do not know how to lead us, trying to divide us. And this is the opposite of the Christian faith. Jesus centered the marginalized. He centered the poor. And in a moment like this, we need voices, particularly voices of faith.
Other Republicans in Congress had a very different take, Jonathan.
I think everyone should be insulted by this, the intentional nature of this. Easter is a religious holiday. It is such a sacred day where we all meet at the cross. And then at the same time, to deny the use of religious symbols in the White House Easter egg hunt art competition.
The next time Easter falls on March 31st, Jonathan, 2086.
My fellow commies, I now identify as a bunny. Some of you might be worried that I'm losing my grip on reality. There are more new holidays for us to be confused about. In a few days, we have International Asexuality Day. I'll have a different costume for that. The entire months of June, October, and November are now all gay. And there's a lot more than that, Jack. So strap on your rainbow seatbelt and buckle up.
Where do you even get that? I've seen a lot of AI. I don't know how you do it, Jerry. I don't know how Jerry does it. I don't know how he does it. Jerry, the meme genius, is what we call him around here. I don't know how you do it, Jerry. Joe Biden as the Easter Bunny. I hope that is a recurring character, ladies and gentlemen. Today is Monday, April 1st, 2024. We wish this whole show was an April Fool's joke. Obviously, the real fool is in the White House, and Jesus Christ is not in the tomb. Jesus Christ is risen, and Jesus Christ is king. Ladies and gentlemen, maybe we just start every show by saying that. We just start every program. We can just start by reaffirming that. These days, we should do it because Christianity is under attack. Christianity, they have stepped on our necks and spit in our eye for too long. Ladies and gentlemen, you F around, and now the White House is finding out. White House doubles down on insulting Christians on our highest holiday, Easter. New polls show doom for Joe Biden in 2024 as Democrats run for the hills. Congressman Wesley Hunt joins the show. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. I had an absolutely solid gold Easter with my kids, a lot of little golden Easter eggs. They weren't actually made of gold, but little yellow Easter eggs. We went hunting for Easter eggs, ladies and gentlemen, this week. And here's our family photo. Please don't make fun of my shorts. Everyone's saying they were way too short. I just like the 80s, okay? I like the 80s. You remember the 80s? You remember dads with aviators on, right? In the 80s? It's still look. Should I grow a mullet and a mustache? Let me know in the comment section. Should I bring it all back? Get the mullet, the mustache? Let's just go full 80. I mean, that was like peak America. Soviet Union collapsed. Ronald Reagan was president the entire decade. In fact, like unified Republican, like George H.W. Bush wasn't a Republican, but anyway, like unified Republican control throughout the entire country, like greatest era. I was born. Were you born in the 80s? You remember the 80s? It's an awesome time. Anyway, enough about my shorts. This is our beautiful family on this is our family on Easter. We celebrate Easter in the Johnson household, ladies and gentlemen. And we had a wonderful Easter. I have 3 kids under 3. And I read them the resurrection story, all 4 gospels. I'm not exactly sure that they were able to pick up everything, but my kids know that Jesus loves them and that Jesus is alive, ladies and gentlemen. And that's all that matters, really, right? And it's something that we need to affirm. And we're going to affirm it. The more that the culture decides to attack it, the more we will affirm that. And the more bold we will be. The more bold we shall be. Ladies and gentlemen, we did have a solid gold Easter. Our Easter was very much a beautiful time for our family. And I wish to, protect my kids. I wish to protect them, obviously, from the cultural rot, but I also wish to protect their future. That's why I do invest in gold. I invest in gold through my friends at Allegiance Gold. My friends at Allegiance make sure that I am diversified and that I'm protected against some of the evils of our federal government and their predations on people that work really hard and earn and save. And so please consider investing with my friends at Allegiance Gold. Go to protectwithbenny.com today or call 844-66-BENNY. Right now, get $5,000 of free qualifying purchase. Don't get fooled by inflated stock market values or the promise that the economy is stable. Have you seen what the federal debt looks like? Yeah. Bankruptcy happens very slowly, then very quickly. Protectwithbenny.com today. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Put the photo back up. I want to say that put the little, here we go. And this is the tweet too. This was my message on Easter. Because we're under attack. We're under attack. Our traditions, our faith is under attack. Happy Easter. Jesus Christ is risen. Jesus Christ is king from the Johnson family of yours. May God bless you on this holy resurrection day. And this is the tradition that my children will learn. We will not allow for the secularism or the rot or the insult of this administration to take hold in the most important facet of society, which is our family. It is a bulwark, actually. You, parents out there, you know. Christians out there, you know. Like the family is actually the protective unit against secularism. Have you ever read the Communist Manifesto? One of the first things that Marx says must be destroyed in order to end capitalism, in order to end all of the traditional systems around Europe was the family. Separate the children from the parents. Separate the children from their traditions. Inject them with secular traditions that rots their brains and that will corrupt and disconnect them from their past, from truth itself. And as you watch this Marxist playbook play out, as you watch the Cloward-Piven playbook play out around the nation, and as you watch like how the American Marxists, they went into their little holes and they devised a plan to wreck this nation, separating families from children, separating children from the traditions of their parents, separating them from religious truth, foundational truth that leads to a life filled with purpose and meaning. That is actually a key component in destroying a nation like America. In fact, America, the strongest thing we have is certainly not our military or nuclear arsenal, which is all outdated and, could barely be deployed. Actually, the strongest thing that these Marxists, when they originally came here and tried to study how to take over America, the strongest things were our institutions. Those were the things that could not be taken down. Our institutions were what couldn't be rotted or stolen. And the center of that institution was the family, and the center of the family is God, and the center of our government used to be God. Center of our government, still printed on our currency, not sure anybody who's printing our currency believes in God, In government buildings, you can go find 10-foot letters with God carved into the halls of government. On various buildings and monuments. Our Creator, obviously, like written into the very foundational documents that started this place. All men are equal, endowed by their Creator with inalienable rights. Rights that are above government. Rights, in fact, that government's sole job in the American tradition is to protect. Natural rights, we call them. That's how actually intertwined and interwoven the cornerstone of God is in America. The Constitutional Convention, Benjamin Franklin gives a prayer. Benjamin Franklin was considered the most agnostic or secular of the founding fathers, right? He's very, bohemian in his actions and in his worldview. Very much a man of science, very much a man of culture. Go check in on how Ben Franklin treated the French courts when he was over there as our ambassador. But even Ben Franklin understood that in the formation of this nation, if God wasn't the center of it, then it would fail. The quote from Ben Franklin at his prayer at the opening of the Constitutional Convention, which he presided over as the oldest founding father, and it was in Philadelphia, his home city. He said, "If a sparrow cannot fall from the sky without his notice, how can a nation rise without his aid?" Speaking in a prayer to God. If a sparrow cannot fall from the sky without God's notice, how could a nation rise without God's aid? That's how inextricably interwoven the nature of God is in our government. And if you are looking to destroy this place, you must separate us from God. Now, God has a set of commandments that he gives us. One of those first commandments is thou shalt not murder. And I want to give you a demonstration here, ladies and gentlemen, before we talk about what happened on Easter, which is the highest holiday in the Christian faith. And you should feel insulted. If you are a Christian, there is no excuse for voting for Democrats. Period. If you don't have to vote for Republicans, all right? And if you watch this show regularly, you know that I am somebody who also hates the Republican Party quite a bit. There are a lot of Republicans that we go after. I go after Republicans because Republicans stab me in the back. Democrats at least have the decency to stab me in the face, which is actually what they've been doing all Easter. Metaphorically. If I lived in a Democrat city, then maybe they'd be doing it literally. I used to live in a Democrat city. Actually, that was something that was very much on the table every single day I went to work. In the hellscape of Washington, D.C., where my family was nearly killed because of Democrat policies. So why do you think I'm in Florida? But nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to understand Joe Biden, you cannot understand him through the Christian tradition. It's not possible. You cannot understand Joe Biden through the Christian tradition. Joe Biden is not a Christian first, right? We've been covering a lot of drama at the Daily Wire. We've been talking about Candace Owens and the breakdown with Ben Shapiro. It was on spiritual lines. And as somebody who knows both parties, let me just tell you, these are firmly held spiritual beliefs by both Candace and Ben. And those are the things that that roots them, not just into right now where they're living, the present time, but roots them into like thousands of years of tradition for both Ben and Candace and their faith traditions. And so that's going to be more than money and more than a contract, okay? Joe Biden is not so rooted. Joe Biden is an empty vessel. To think of Joe Biden or to try and justify voting for Joe Biden because he's a Christian is a false pretense. Joe Biden is a false prophet. Joe Biden should be excommunicated from his church. If the Catholic Church had any balls, Joe Biden would be excommunicated over his actions. Not just now, but through his entire presidency. We're going to detail those actions. It is heretical and blasphemous to the church. And there is, quite frankly, zero reason as a Christian that you should be able to justify voting for Democrats. You just can't. I'm sorry. A vote for Democrats is a vote to destroy your religion, to destroy your faith. Much like they are destroying the cornerstone of faith that brought this country out of the ashes and saved us, I believe, time and time again, in wars and in conflicts that should have destroyed this place. God had his hand of guidance. God shed his grace on thee. As the song goes. There is no excuse. There is no justification to vote for Democrats as a Christian. You can't. You can't do it anymore. It's suicidal, actually, to your own faith. So what matters to you more, I guess, is the question. Because I'm going to detail exactly how Christianity does not matter at all to Joe Biden, and the people who practice Joe Biden's faith and are the elders in Joe Biden's faith are straight up criticizing him on national TV for it now. Joe Biden should have gotten a rebuke from the Pope. Joe Biden should have been excommunicated this weekend. We're going to talk through all of it, ladies and gentlemen. But I'm going to use something that happened last month, actually, to show you something about Joe Biden, which is that Joe Biden is not real. Okay? I'm not talking about how Joe Biden's number 7, okay? They have a bunch of Joe Biden's different skin suits, right, walking around. Not talking about that, though it's really, really funny. And if you ever seen the way the guy walks, it is very much like a TI-100 robot from Terminator. Okay? That's all funny. That's all well and good. But that's not what we're going to talk about this morning. What we're going to talk about this morning is how Joe Biden isn't real, meaning Joe Biden has no convictions. Joe Biden's always been a liar. You can find the clips of Joe Biden lying that he ran for president like 50 times. Every time he had to drop out because of plagiarism or lying or theft or some type of other immoral humiliation, right? Time and time again. You can find this out. Joe Biden's a liar. He will do anything for power. Liars wish to gain power through lying. Joe Biden doesn't believe anything. This is what I think is really important about the understanding of what happened this weekend with the Easter high holiday for Christianity, Resurrection Day. Joe Biden is not real. He doesn't have any actual convictions. Joe Biden is an empty vessel. Joe Biden is something that has been created by a movement of Marxists who wish to destroy America. He is simply a pejorative, slightly warmed over, super low brainwave, empty vessel for whatever the agenda is next. And that is why it is instructive to study Joe Biden. Because you can see what their true agenda is with absent anyone who has the daft or the adept nimbleness to like work around these issues. Joe Biden just doesn't. It's all gone. So Joe Biden is effectively everything that is poured into him from the internal power structure of the Democrat Party, the modern Democrat Party, which Christians should be banished from voting for. If you don't have a pastor who's talking about these issues, by the way, let me just take a second here and break away. If you are of the evangelical, or if you're not, if you are not of the Catholic faith tradition, whatever denomination you come from, and your pastor isn't talking about these issues from a moral perspective, you need to change churches. If your pastor doesn't have the guts to describe how the president spit in the face of all Christians and our faith tradition on Easter, this so-called Christian president, then you need to change churches. You need to find a pastor with guts. You need to find somebody who has the constitution and the moral compass to speak truth to power and not just be cowering in the corner trying to protect their tax-exempt status, okay? Because we are fighting a spiritual warfare. It is not left versus right. It is good versus evil, and that was what was demonstrated this weekend. But it's also what's been demonstrated over the past couple of years, quite frankly. For quite a while, the left has demonstrated where they are morally. And it is something worth defeating. Big time commandment. Thou shalt not murder. murder is bad. It's bad in all faith traditions, generally. It's not typically justifiable. God says in the Ten Commandments, don't murder. So the murder of somebody should be treated as a deep and abiding moral evil that we can all roundly condemn, as long as we come from the same faith traditions. Now, Marxists don't have a God. They believe that they themselves are God. Therefore, they should have the right over life and death. That's the difference. That's where gulags come into. Joseph Stalin killed a lot more people than Hitler. As a matter of fact, Joseph Stalin killed his own people. Check the numbers. I think it's close to 60 million people that Joseph Stalin killed. Very much his own people, like persecuting his own people, like murdering, mass murdering his own people. Mao Zedong, same thing. These are the Marxist is a godless entity that believes that they have power over life and death. And they can do whatever, like atrocities to their own populations. That's why Marxism is just, that's why you started seeing little hints of these kind of things. Oh, during COVID, should we put people in concentration camps? Oh, they don't subscribe to the lockdowns? Time to lock them up. Time to put them in a camp. Wow. Where have I seen that before? That's the nature of the Marxist, okay? I'm talking about from like a basic moral perspective. Joe Biden doesn't claim to be a Marxist. Joe Biden says, I'm a Catholic. I'm a Christian. He talks about, he tries to like talk, every time he gets in a jam, he tries to talk about that, you know? Boy, you say something about his son, man, he'll point to the rosary on his hand or whatever. He'll forget where the rosary is from, but whatever. He's ready to go. He's ready to tell you how Catholic he is. So if you are of the Christian faith, at the very least, you should be willing to state murder is wrong, right? What's fascinating is that Joe Biden, when you put him on his factory settings, Joe Biden says murder is wrong. He was actually forced to say it during the State of the Union. When Laken Riley, a young American, was brutally murdered through blunt force trauma by an illegal criminal alien that was welcomed into this country by Joe Biden. Here we go.
It's not about him. It's not about me. I'd be a winner. Not really. Lincoln Riley, an innocent young woman who was killed by an illegal. That's right. But how many of the thousands of people being killed by illegals? To her parents, I say, my heart goes out to you, having lost children myself. I understand. But look, if we change the dynamic at the border, people pay these smugglers $8,000 to get across the border because they know if they get by and let into the country, it's 6 to 8 years before they have a hearing. And it's worth taking the chance of the $8,000. But if it's only 6 weeks, the idea is it's highly unlikely that people will pay.
Okay, so Joe Biden was trolled by legend Marjorie Taylor Greene into saying on his factory settings that murder is wrong. Okay, murder's wrong. Got him. He was even asked about this. He referred to the murderer as an illegal, which by law, he is a criminal alien. He is illegal. He is here illegally in this country because of Joe Biden. Here's how Joe Biden responded.
Do you regret using the word illegal to describe immigrants last night, sir?
Well, I don't regret it. Technically not supposed to be here.
Okay. So even that, Joe Biden was able to say, okay, yeah, got it. He's not supposed to be here. Then you see the true Joe Biden. So that's Joe Biden on the factory settings. Then he gets the actual literal demon claws of his handlers and the people that actually run Joe Biden. They get a hold of him and they say, how dare you? How dare you? We need criminal aliens. We need the reason we brought 10 million criminal aliens into the country is to vote for us. You can't just call them out for murder. You can't criticize them even when they murder. And how dare you use a naughty name to call them by? They're newcomers. They're not even migrants anymore. They're newcomers. By the way, your grandparents or great-grandparents, they were migrants. Immigrants is what they were. came through Ellis Island, came here legally, that's an actual migrant. Immigrant. That's a migrant. A criminal alien is somebody who comes here in mass illegally. That's the difference. I mean, you could say we're all immigrants from that. I mean, the founding fathers were immigrants on that standard. Yes, they came here legally. Criminal aliens do not. That's the difference. Got it? Okay. Then they get Joe Biden. They get to him. And you're able to see who Joe Biden really is. And as soon as they get to him, Joe Biden doesn't stand on his moral authority and say, no, murder's wrong. I'm a Christian. I'm not going to be nice to murderers. This guy should burn in hell. Joe Biden immediately flips and apologizes to the newcomer, who's the murderer. Watch.
But during your response to her heckling of you, you used the word illegal when talking about the man who allegedly killed Laken Riley.
An undocumented person. And I shouldn't have used illegal. It's undocumented. And look, when I spoke about the difference between Trump and me, one of the things I talked about on the border was that the way he talks about vermin, the way he talks about these people polluting the blood. I talked about what I'm not going to do, what I won't do. I'm not going to treat any of these people with disrespect. Look, they built the country. The reason our economy is growing. We have to control the border and more orderly flow, but I don't share his view at all.
So you regret using that word?
Yes.
So Joe Biden apologizes for using a correct legal name for the criminal alien murderer. He apologized to the murderer. What kind of a person does this? I mean, I was about to say man, but he's not a man. You're an amoeba. You're a spineless, vacuous, empty vessel where the poison of the cultural left was just poured into Joe Biden, and then Joe Biden goes and apologizes to the murderer. Now, he's done this again and again and again and again in his residency. The difference, by the way, Joe Biden was giving that interview in the state of Georgia. Just down the road, Donald Trump was speaking about that same murderer, criminal alien, like this.
When I say he was an illegal alien, he was an illegal immigrant, he was an illegal migrant, and he shouldn't have been in our country, and he never would have been under the Trump policy. And Biden should be apologizing to this killer.
So that's the difference. The difference in a man of conviction and an actual Christian and a moral person is that they know right and wrong. And once they know right and wrong, once that has been revealed to them, then they do not lose it. They remain salty. But like literally, Jesus says, be the salt of the earth. Why is salt isn't useful when it loses its saltiness, is the words of Christ. A lamp is no good when you put your lamps on a hill. Stay salty, to paraphrase Christ. We have to stay salty. Joe Biden has lost his saltiness. Joe Biden has lost any type of, he has sold his soul. It's the only way to look at it. He can be moved or made to believe or say or do anything. He, Mr. Catholic Christian tradition, will ban all religious symbols from Easter eggs and Easter at the White House. White House bans religious Easter eggs from art contest. The Biden administration has banned children from submitting Easter eggs with religious themes for 2024, celebrating National Guard Families Art Contest. The competition, which is part of the White House annual Easter egg roll, explicitly stipulated that eggs design not feature any religious symbols on the highest holiday in Christianity, the day when Christ became king. A lot of drama over Christ is king these days. This is the day Christ became king. Got it? The submission must not include any questionable content, religious symbols, or overtly religious themes, said the White House. Well, how is that possible? This is a religious holiday, isn't it? Isn't this the purpose of Easter? Not just to have like a stupid bunny run around and like put plastic eggs in your yard? Like, isn't this the purpose of Easter? To celebrate the Christian high holiday? That this is the day. This is Resurrection Day. The White House has banned, and by the way, they include religious content with questionable content, like pornography. So they view it on the same level. It's like as offensive as like a hate symbol. Look at this. The submission must not include questionable content, which would be like hate symbols or pornographic content, or religious symbols or overtly religious themes. So the White House has banned Christianity from Christian high holiday. The White House also declared that March the 31st was Transgender Day of Visibility in a statement from Joe Biden, including the White House Easter Bunny and Easter eggs up top. I, therefore, Joe Biden, President of the United States, by virtue of the authority vested in me in the Constitution of the United States, hereby proclaim March 31st, 2024, Easter, as Transgender Day of Visibility. Now, everyone is going on and saying, well, this day, along with Cesar Chavez Day, which was also yesterday, these are just days marked in the calendar. They're just locked in the calendar. Okay, this is the day that they've always been these days. Okay, that's been the left screeching about this, and that really brings me to my point, which is that Joe Biden isn't real. Joe Biden doesn't have any moral convictions. The most evil people on earth are weak men. You think strong men are scary? Try being ruled by weak men. Check out what's happening in Canada with Trudeau. Check out what happens when weak men take control of any society. French Revolution happens, actually. When King Louis takes the throne. The French Revolution. Boom. Just a couple years it takes for the entire society to descend into absolute murderous, barbaric chaos. Joe Biden is a weak, immoral man who has no convictions. A man with convictions would say this is the Christian high holiday, this is Easter, and we are going to celebrate Easter on Easter, the end. Everything else moves. This is it. Nothing is worth insulting or spitting in the face of these people's core religious beliefs that bind them and connect them to thousands of years of beautiful tradition. Nothing. That's what a moral person would do. It's kind of interesting, ladies and gentlemen, because the White House didn't tweet this in Spanish. Isn't that fascinating? Isn't that very interesting? The White House kept this off their Spanish feed. You know, people that come from Latin America come from like deeply and profoundly held Catholic tradition and Christian tradition by and large. And the rate of practicing Christianity in those countries of the world is very, very high, higher than in America even. It is like the sole religion in South American countries, and their traditions are extreme. Their religious traditions are extremely powerful. These feasts, these feasts and these holidays like take weeks off the calendar. Everyone's off work. The entire city comes out, and you'll notice that the White House was silent on their Spanish language feed. Isn't that fascinating? Yet on every other English feed, they were promoting this non-stop. An affront, ladies and gentlemen, to Christianity. They were getting ratioed. I don't know what these are, the ratios, 1, 2, and 3. But they were getting nuclear ratioed on X. But I would actually argue that the greatest ratio, okay, so 17,000 to 36,000. There you go. Okay, all right. I would argue that the greatest ratio and the most savage, ladies and gentlemen, response, and this is an important comment, you would never disrespect any other religion like this. Yes, that's exactly correct. Like, how many generations of this will be can we abide by as the church? Like what? Like no other religion on their high holidays. What would it be? Passover, right? Ramadan. Like no other religion would get this kind of spit in your eye, stick in your eye. No one. They would never dare. They would never dare. They would move the calendar. And that's what has leaders of the Catholic faith finally breaking and saying, this guy needs to be excommunicated. I mean, it's incredible. Here, listen to this from Monsignor Carlo Varia Vigiano, Archbishop of the Apostolic Nuncio of the United States of America. Unprecedented and scandalous proclamation of March 31st, Transgender Day of Visibility. Self-styled U.S. President Joe Biden dares declare himself a Catholic, constitutes the most serious offense to God and to millions of Catholics and Christians around the world, before which it is impossible to react with due firmness. I urge American citizens to and representatives of government to recognize the total unworthiness of Joe Biden and to hold an institutional position. Wow. On CBS, they had a Catholic priest on calling Joe Biden a cafeteria Catholic, saying that Joe Biden just doesn't care about the basic tenets of his faith. He talked about, obviously, the protection of life, and then, obviously, the insult to Christians on Easter. Also, like, thou shalt not murder. Joe Biden just doesn't seem to care about that either. Here we go.
In the case of the president, do you get a sense that his regular attendance and adherence to the faith resonates with American Catholics?
I would say that he's very sincere about his faith. But like a number of Catholics, he picks and chooses dimensions of the faith to highlight while ignoring or even contradicting other parts. There is a phrase that we have used in the past, a cafeteria Catholic. You choose that which is attractive and dismiss that which is challenging.
Or, as Thomas Aquinas would say, you allow your conscience to guide you. Right?
Is there something on the menu he's not ordering, in your view?
Well,
so to speak?
I would say there are things, especially in terms of the life issues, there are things that he chooses to ignore, or he uses the current situation as a political pawn rather than saying, look, my church believes this.
That's what a man of conviction would do. This is why we say Joe Biden's fake. He's not real. He's not a real person. He doesn't have any actual conviction, and these are very dangerous men. If you were to really get at the root of what makes Joe Biden such a dangerous, banal leader, this would be it. The man has absolutely no conviction. He is a simple repository of the most vindictive, secular, vile bile that the Democrat Party and the leftist, secularist, godless movement can pour into him. It's disgraceful. It's an insult to all of us. How bad is it? The nuns are getting involved. The nuns are getting involved. Catholic nun is dialed in. If Donald Trump gets reelected, it's a complete act of God. Governments no longer serve God and the people. We are in a complete war between good and evil. Wow. I got to start watching this show. Take it away, nun.
It's an election year in the U.S. In normal times, an election is the moment when ordinary people can take back control of their nation's destiny. But these are not normal times. Across the globe, men and women are waking up to the alarming truth that governments no longer serve God or the people. And beloved, I'll interrupt to say myself, that if President Trump gets in, it's a complete act of God. If the Democrats, if Biden is not reelected, it is a complete act of God, because every scheme and every evil is out there that he would continue to be our president, as inept and evil as he is. At least done evil things. And those that surround him and advise him and even direct him, the devil is wise. And I would not put it past them to do anything. I know that recently someone has made a motion that no one should be able to vote who cannot prove U.S. citizenship. I totally agree with that. But there are those in the Democratic Party who do not. So we are up against not just an election, but an absolute war for good against good and evil.
Locked in, baby. Dialed in. Did your pastor sound like that this Easter? Did your pastor say that? If not, then, and I don't come from the Catholic tradition. I'm not a Catholic. But you've got to be dialed in. You won't have a culture. You won't have a church. Check what happens to religious people under fascistic dictatorships. Have you ever read Bonhoeffer about what happened under the Third Reich? Under communist dictatorships? Like, check what happens to religious people. The church is the first to be persecuted. The first page of the Communist Manifesto, the first page, the first thing Karl Marx says we got to get rid of, the family and the church. That's it. And God knows it, man. God sent thunder and lightning to the White House on Easter morning. Quite appropriate.
Reports from the White House, and Jackie, good morning there. They've got a big Easter egg roll there where the Biden administration is playing defense on this religion call. Good morning there.
Hey, good morning to you, Bill. The Easter egg roll has been a White House tradition since 1878 when President Rutherford B. Hayes moved this event from Capitol Hill after Congress passed a law prohibiting children from using the Capitol grounds as a playground. But thunder and lightning postponed performances this year for a couple of hours, and this year's event has also been marked by some controversy after President Biden commemorated Transgender Day of Visibility, which fell this year on Easter Sunday. Easter's date varies because it falls on the first Sunday after the full moon or on or after the spring equinox, but Transgender Day of Visibility has a fixed date. It's been held on March 31st every year since its inception in 2009. Biden issued a White House proclamation and also posted on X, quote, "Today on Transgender Day Visibility, I have a simple message to all trans Americans. I see you. You are made in the image of God, and you're worthy of respect and dignity."
So what happens when Joe Biden's allowed to actually talk? Let's say you actually went to this event. Let's say you actually went to this affront to Christianity. Well, what would you have been instructed to do? You can see what what he reads in the tweet. You see what Joe Biden's handlers punch out, of course, without his knowledge, as he's upstairs strapped to a CPAP machine, unconscious. So what happens when you let Joe Biden actually speak? Well, this happens.
God bless you all. Enjoy the day. And I'm coming down to do that Easter egg roll in just a minute. Thank you all so very, very much. Thanks, everybody. And by the way, say hello to oyster bunnies. Come on up, bunnies. Get up here so they can see you.
Say hello to the oyster bunny. We have an artist's rendering of what the oyster bunny would look like. Pretty creepy. Oh, you don't have it, Royce? Oh, Royce! That's okay. We'll get it up. Ladies and gentlemen, not the first and most embarrassing time that Joe Biden has had at the White House. Joe Biden was once led around by the oyster bunny, so-called. This is our artist rendering of what an oyster bunny would look like. There was a time when the oyster bunny actually had to protect Joe Biden from the menacing questions of the press. Remember this. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Return. Please. Return. Return. Remember, when we had a president, Joe Biden didn't release any video, any message to Christians on Easter. Nothing. Mr. Catholic Joe Biden being whipped by nuns in the schoolhouse, by Catholic, even super limp wrist, weak sauce, weak beer Catholic priests that they bring on, calling him a cafeteria Catholic, saying he doesn't actually profess their faith. Do you remember when we had a president that was a real man, that had beliefs, that had convictions, that was strong, and that spoke like this to Christians on our high holiday?
We remember the suffering and death of God's only Son and his glorious resurrection on the third day. On Easter Sunday, we proclaim with joy, Christ is risen.
Yeah. That's what a real man says. That's what somebody that actually has convictions says. Joe Biden is an empty vessel. Those kind of people are deeply, deeply dangerous and bring real chaos, pain, and horrors upon their nations. If a sparrow cannot fall from the sky without God's notice, how can a nation rise without his aid? Says Benjamin Franklin. Whew, man. We need Jesus right now. And this is the final proof that you could ever need. If you are a Christian, there is no excuse to vote for the Democratic Party. There is no justification. No justification. If you actually believe in the Ten Commandments, if you believe in God's law, if you hold your religion as something that is true and not a joke, if you truly believe, there is no justification. You don't have to vote for Republicans, but there is no justification to vote for this. You are voting for the destruction of your own faith. The insult and the poisoning of your own culture. And you are voting for the elimination of your traditions and the insult to your Savior. There's no justification. I've thought through it. There really isn't. It's demonic what is happening right now. And in case you're wondering who they target on Easter, remember, ladies and gentlemen, it's only Christian high holidays where they would dare do this. They never dare do this to another religion. Here's St. Patrick's Cathedral, one of the largest and most powerful and most iconic Catholic cathedrals in the whole world, getting their Easter homily interrupted by leftist orcs who targeted Christians. Expect more of this, because unfortunately our Christian leaders just roll over and take it and do not defend the church. Watch. They would never dare. So the question is, when will we stop being insulted? When will Christians, who make up the vast majority of this country's faith tradition, when will Christians stand up? When will we do something? When will our leaders and our pastors begin to speak out and begin to say something and begin to speak like this? You don't have to vote for Republicans, but you have no justification. There's no moral justification for voting for Democrats, period. It is an affront to your faith. It is blasphemous. And it's satirical, as the leaders of this party are. And everyone deserves a chance at salvation, and everyone deserves a shot at redemption. And so I'll wait. Leaders of the Democrat Party can grovel and apologize, just like they did to BLM, right? Put on their kente cloths and go kneel, okay? You can go and you can ask for forgiveness. And ultimately, God's going to judge us. And the final thing, step back and say, you know what? It's our job to fight the battles the best we can, the best that God provides us the abilities to, be salt and light to this world. But God's ultimately going to judge. And you should be more fearful of God than you are of Satan or Joe Biden or the DOJ or the IRS or the U.S. military or anything. You should be more fearful of God than any of them combined. And every nuclear warhead and every arsenal of every communist nation or our nation, you should actually fear God. God created the universe. He created you. He created everything that's happening right now, meaning he's created the world, right, and humanity, and is God who has power over and dominion over Satan, and is Jesus Christ who has dominion over the final tool of Satan on this earth in this sunken place. And the final tool of Satan would be death. And ultimately, ladies and gentlemen, let's bring it home. That's what Easter is about. Us, as we live here in this temporal world, as we humans are living and going about our traditions and living about our lives, the worst thing really that you can think of happen to you is death. You're going to die. You die. All right? That is the curse of this earth. We are mere mortals. But Christ has given us eternal life and has resurrected from the dead. Christ has broken those chains, the chains of death, to be dragged down to hell. Christ has broken them and has provided all of us a pathway, ladies and gentlemen, to salvation. And that's what Easter is actually about. That's why Christ is king. That's why this is our holiest holiday. And ladies and gentlemen, that's why it's such an insult when movements and evil forces use this day specifically and intentionally to insult our faith. But God will not be mocked. God won't be mocked. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we put our faith in Christ, and we put our faith in our own victory. God will not be mocked. We'll see what happens, ladies and gentlemen. So a very happy, blessed Easter to you, and I hope you had a blessed Resurrection Day. There is somebody who is fighting the good fight, who we are always thrilled to have on the program. Congressman Wesley Hunt joins the show now. Congressman, I really appreciate you being on the program today. I trust that you had a wonderful Easter with your beautiful family.
I did. And Benny, before we go any further, I just want to tell you a big amen. It shows that you've certainly been in church. It shows that you certainly are a believer in Christ. You're pointing out the hypocrisy that we've seen the last couple of days. He is risen, and he is risen indeed. And thank you so much for fighting this culture war, because this is an affront for everything this country stands for. And listening to your monologue before this gave me chills. Thank you for being a believer.
This is how we save this place, right? It's how America came about in the first place.
Yep.
And if our government decouples from God, then we're doomed. Do you believe that?
We are doomed. The Bible says no weapon against us shall prosper. And right now, we are fighting that war every single day. God will not be mocked, especially on the most important holiday of our faith, brother. And you are absolutely right. The vast majority of Christians, which are voting Americans, are paying attention and watching all of this. This is about good versus evil. And they are gaslighting us a couple of days ago by even bringing this up and giving that proclamation. And this is not about Trans Awareness Day. It's about gaslighting Christians across the country. And they did it on purpose. And when you see nuns and religious people and religious persons come out and they're saying, this is not about Trump. This is not about Democrats versus Republicans. This is about good versus evil, and allowing this country to continue to be a Christian nation, one nation under God, e pluribus unum, of many one, and God we trust. If we're going to be that nation, November 5th, 2024 is one of the most important days in the history of this great country. You have articulated that perfectly. We got here because of our belief in God. We've gotten here because of the rights imbued in every last one of us because of God through Christ. And if we let this go, America is gone. People have to understand the next 4 years of this country will define the very future of the next 100. Get your minds right. But the good thing about this is this: there's always hope. And when they behave like this and the left exposes exactly who they are by trying to destroy our religion, our faith, and our family, we always respond in kind. That's why President Trump is up in almost every poll I've seen. That's why he's up in the RCP average. That's why he's up in every swing state, because we are waking up, and we all know that it doesn't matter how you feel. It's about saving this Christian nation. And we always respond to the bell every single time in this country.
Yeah, I mean, we have actually a number of polls here showing that Donald Trump is not only maintaining a pretty monstrous lead on Joe Biden, but is growing that lead.
Yeah.
And that Joe Biden is obviously eroding in every category of voter, except for I think single leftist white women who are over the age of 60.
So they're not going to vote for us anyway. Yeah. Let them go. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're starting to see what looks like quite a panic attack, because we are not far from the election. We're 7 months from the general election. What do you predict is going to happen? Because they're going to try and start throwing out stops here. The courts are failing at putting Donald Trump in prison. They're going to try and do that, but I think that they're going to fail. What else has been cooking up?
Well, they're in full panic mode when you have Joe Biden, Barack Obama, and Bill Clinton on the stage at the same time. This is getting real ugly for them. And the best quote I've heard for the past year was traveling around with President Trump. I've been to Iowa on his behalf 5 times. I've been to New Hampshire. I've been to South Carolina. I've been to Delaware. I've been to New Mexico. I've been to Kansas on his behalf. When I travel around the country, what I see is this reinvigorated spirit to bring this man back. And it's been that way for the entire year. And many people haven't been paying attention to it, but I have. I had the pleasure of riding on his plane with him from Bedminster to Iowa back in August. You know what he told me on his plane? And I say this to everybody all the time. Wesley, they're not coming after me. They're coming after you. I am just standing in their way. This man literally is the one guy that's standing in the way of evil. And I think in these swing states, and what these people are realizing is, oh my gosh, this couldn't be more true. Look at what's happening at our border. 10 million people infiltrating our country illegally. Look at what's happening with the fentanyl. Look at what's happening with our economy. We're on the verge of World War III. This guy, Trump of all people, President Trump, is fighting the culture war for Christianity on Easter, the most sacred day for our religion and for this country. Think about this. The more they behave like this, the stronger President Trump becomes. And I think it's only going to get worse because they're going to double down on these ridiculous policies. And then they're going to ask Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, and Bill Clinton to come in and save them by raising enough money. There ain't enough money in the world to overcome God's will. I'm telling you.
So we played this clip. I'm not sure if you can see the screen here, but it's them coming up in a wheelchair lift to the stage. And we think it's because Joe Biden can't take the stage. And he needs the wheelchair lift, kind of like at your church, right? There's a little wheelchair lift for the grannies to get into the chapel. Yeah. And I don't know, you're obviously have a lot of inside information. Do you think this is because they couldn't trust Joe Biden to get on and off the stage, so they just put him effectively on a robotic lift?
So they've given him the short stairs for Air Force One. They are trying their best to eliminate every opportunity for this guy to fall on his face by outfitting him with special Hoka shoes, or as my contractor calls them, grips, if you will, to making sure that they give him the lift, to give him the short stairs. He can't find his way off of a stage. He is the Roomba whenever he tries to move around the stages. This is, another effort to eliminate him from making a mistake. And they are well aware of what's going on. Like they know that this guy is literally one slip and fall away every single day from ending all of their hopes in November for whatever little hope that they have. Of course, this is orchestrated. But the worst thing about this event is looking at how spry Barack Obama is, looking at how spry Bill Clinton was. Keep in mind, Joe Biden is older than Bill Clinton is right now. And Bill Clinton was president 25 years ago. 25 years ago. Joe Biden is older than Methuselah. It's time for this to stop. And I think the worst thing about it is this. You look at how spry President Trump is. This man is still traveling the country, and then they're dragging and don't forget, he and his family through court. And what does he do? He goes to court, he gets on a plane, and then does another rally. Then the next day, does another rally, then goes back to court, and he still has that same animal energy every single time. There is a stark difference that we're going to have to make a decision here in November. And it is, in fact, binary. That choice is already being made right now. And Barack Obama and Bill Clinton cannot save him. This is going to be a very good November for us, Benny. And I believe, again, no weapon formed against us shall prosper. This is going to be a very good November because the spirit fire of the American people always reigns true when the day is darkest before the dawn.
Woo, man, getting chills.
But we fired up, man.
Getting chills, man. This is a preach. Preach. We made a meme actually of these entrances.
Hey, Maga gang, hey, so Maga down, Maga on my chain. Me and Huey ain't the same on the game. Hey, Donald Trump is your president, and if you like it or not, keep that energy you had with Barack. Cause you know this Trump train don't stop. Tell Beto to please come try to take my Glock. You wanna impeach him? I guess that's what you do when you can't beat him.
So, do you think this is why Lizzo quit? You think this is why Lizzo quit music? So Lizzo spent one night with Joe Biden and she quit music forever.
Don't make me comment on Lizzo. Come on,
man. Just wondering. I don't know. You're the member of Congress. Maybe you have some insight on one of your committees. Maybe you've investigated. Lizzo spends one night with Bill Clinton and Joe Biden backstage, and she said, "I'm done. There's no amount of money in the world for this."
Of
and
course,
she quits.
because these people are not serious people. And you know what? Any free-thinking black person, I don't care if you're left or right-leaning, and you're seeing it across the board. You're seeing the Ice Cubes of the world. 50 Cent. I think I'm actually 50 Cent's congressman. You are watching these rappers and people like Lizzo. They are just like, I don't care how many liberal people tell me I have to vote for these people or support these people. You can't tell me to support Weekend at Bernie's. I'm a free-thinking black person, and I don't want to hear it. And this is the kind of problem that they're going to continue to have with free-thinking black people. And that is like, I may not even vote for Republicans, but I for damn sure I'm not voting for this. and what's great about that is not voting for the Democrat. When you see people like Lizzo and 50 and many others not voting for the Democrat, but abstaining from voting is a vote against the Democrat Party. Yes. That's why we don't have to focus on suburban white liberal women that don't like tweets, whatever.
Right.
We are going to get the people that we need to win this election and to fill that gap in spaces just like this. Stop thinking that black people can't think for themselves. Even Lizzo, even the liberal ones, because they're looking around, they're like, we are not going to support this guy. They've done nothing for the black community. I get it. All my Hollywood friends are liberal. I get it. Taylor Swift is Taylor Swifting, whatever you want to call it. Nobody cares about that anymore. People realize that my life is not better off. And if we don't vote for President Trump, or if we don't abstain from voting, that's a vote for more buffoonery that we've seen for the past 4 years. Can't have it.
We just thought it was. We really did thought it was remarkable with one night performing for Joe Biden, and she quits music.
That's it. I'm out.
That's it. Last question I have for you, Congressman. We have spent. I really popped off this weekend, right? Sort of the difference in Joe Biden versus Donald Trump. A man who has conviction in his faith, and a man who can see the world with steely-eyed conviction and is immovable on what he knows to be true. And a man who was forced to apologize to Laken Riley's murderer, right? Like, thou shalt not murder is a pretty big commandment. A man who's obviously for late-term abortion, post-birth abortion. I mean, this is such a deep and abiding evil. And then this disrespect and the spitting on Christians on the Christian high holiday of Easter. I mean, it makes you really fear, quite frankly, for the guy's mortal soul. I mean, you gotta ask the question, does he believe anything? I suppose, because that's a really dangerous thing to have such a weak man with so much power.
Well, this is the problem, and is that He doesn't know what he's doing. This isn't coming from Biden. Joe Biden is not running this country. He is just repeating what he is told to repeat by the leftist communists that are actually running the country behind his back. We know that. This dude refers to the Easter Bunny as the Oyster Bunny. Let's go, man. Like, this is not serious. Like we all know, as I said, this is Weekend at Bernie's. He doesn't know what he's doing. The left is trying to destroy this country, and they're using Joe Biden as a vessel because he is none the wiser. He is the useful idiot that they need to infiltrate and destroy the very fabric of this country. It's just that obvious. I see you put the tweet up that we put up yesterday. You know, they're saying all this ridiculous. I'm like, yeah, it's April Fool's Day. Even Joe Biden has no idea what day it is, and he's going to say whatever he is told to say. And this is the stark contrast that you were going to see. When you start seeing people speak out, like 50 Cent had on that tweet and said, guys, everybody, relax. Trump's going to win. Yes. And Benny, I'm going to end with this because this is something that's very important to me as a military guy, as a combat veteran, as an Apache pilot, somebody that fought for this country, and I'm willing to die for this country even to this day, man. I love this place. We live in the greatest country in the world. People need to understand that we're on the verge of World War III. If you look at what's happening in Russia and the Ukrainian war, you look at what's happening with China and Taiwan, what happened in Israel, Iran on path to have a nuclear weapon, what's happening in Haiti with barbecue. Everyone needs to understand we are one major conflict away from entering World War III. Do you know how we stop this? On November the 5th, President Trump becomes president, and he is reelected as our 47th president. Do you know that my estimation is this? We're going to have world peace by the time he takes office in January, because nobody's going to want that smoke. People are going to realize that America woke up and like, we better stop playing right now, because if we're still playing games and when President Trump comes back, heads will roll. We don't want that. There's going to be instant world peace. Watch how fast our border gets fixed. Watch how fast China stops sending fentanyl into our country. Watch how fast the cartels relinquish their hold of our border. Watch this. This is why I'm imploring all Americans to wake up. We have a binary choice. This is not about your feelings. This is about saving the very soul of a Christian nation. Wake up, people. And Benny, people like you are fighting a good fight, brother. And when I hear people like you, and I watch your show pretty frequently, you ain't the only one. Patriots are stepping up. Patriots are speaking out. And guess what, brother? November is going to be just fine. They're going to continue to double down on these ridiculous policies. People like us will continue to speak on behalf of President Trump with conviction and with our souls. And America will always save itself. The day is always darker before the dawn. And I believe in this country. I still do. And on our worst day, brother, this is the greatest country in the world. Don't forget it, because of people like us that are willing to fight for our values.
Everyone's got to go, and everyone's got to go follow Congressman Wesley Hunt. Look at this beautiful family. Look at this beautiful family on Easter. Look at these beautiful kids.
Wife makes me look good, bro. It ain't me. I better be lucky than good. That's my girl and my wife.
Sharp. Also got 3 kids. This is how we save America. God bless you. Please, everyone, go follow the congressman. Make sure that the fighters, that we give ammunition to the fighters so that they can fight for us. Godspeed, Congressman.
God bless you. Thank you very much. May see you next time, and enjoy your week, brother. Thank you.
Doesn't it give you a little bit of hope having members like that in Congress? I can give you a bit of hope. Isn't that what the point? That's like the point. It's the point of the show. The point of the show is that hope. We often don't do like full-scale religious shows like this, but I spent the weekend like rage posting on X, saying that religious leaders need to call this out. And you know what? We have a show, so we're going to call it out. Typically not like the normal show. I don't consider myself a theologian. I'm a simple Christian. I'm just a simple Christian. I just read my Bible. I don't even read. I haven't even read the whole Bible. Probably very embarrassing to admit that, but I'm just a simple dude. I'm just going through my Gospels, right? And so it's our obligation to speak and to take action. It's also our obligation to be salt and light, and we have some salt for you today. Ooh, so something. MSNBC host Nicole Wallace defiantly throws her script in reaction to Trump. We're not going to have this conversation again. Ladies and gentlemen, we got the salt behind me. Hold on. Hello. Hello, old friend. Hello. Darkness, my old friend. Actually, the opposite of darkness. We got salt. Salt and light. We got our salty lib here. We're going to salt our lib. Nicole Wallace having a meltdown, seething, screechy meltdown on MSNBC, throwing her papers. Ooh. Bring me more. Bring me more. Drop your salt in the comment section. Salt that lib. Let's go.
So, you know, it's time to do something different. Like, we're not going to have this conversation again. I have come on the air with breaking news about requests for gag orders because of threats for judges and their kids more times than I could count today before I got ready. And Judge Ludig, I think it's time. I don't know who has to write the banners at the bottom of my show. I'm sorry in advance. But Donald Trump broke the rule of law. We should cover a broken judiciary in this country. Donald Trump managed to delay every federal criminal trial based on facts that he barely denies. Donald Trump managed to enlist the Supreme Court in a delay process, the highest court in the land. Donald Trump brazenly and repeatedly attacks not just judges, and I've had the privilege of sitting across not just from you, Judge Ludig, but from Judge Esther Salas, whose son was assassinated by a crazy person. Judges don't have Secret Service protecting them. They don't even always have, I mean, her child answered the door. What are we going to do different? Because Donald Trump sure as hell isn't changing.
We are not sodium deficient on this program. We have so much salt, ladies and gentlemen. We thank you for pouring salt through the comment sections. We love bringing our Salt That Lib to you. Again, you keep us going. Sodium is actually really important to have in your life. You got to make sure that you're on balance. You got to make sure that you are prepared from a physical standpoint, from a medical standpoint. That's why we're partnering with the Wellness Company, ladies and gentlemen. Globalists are making it clear that another pandemic might be right around the corner. The Wellness Company and their doctors are medical professionals that you can trust. Their medical emergency kits are the gold standard when it comes to keeping you healthy. Not sure if salt is included in those kits, but ladies and gentlemen, don't miss out. Okay? Make sure that you have your emergency kit in case there is another accidental leak from a Chinese lab or Ukrainian lab. Emergency antibiotics, antivirals, antiparasitics on hand to keep you and your family safe, whatever they throw at us next. twc.health/Benny. That's twc.health/Benny. Enter the code Benny for 10% off. Again, that's twc.health/Benny. Promo code Benny for 10% off. Oh, baby, ladies and gentlemen, we got a spicy election update for you. Let's go. I want a different election update. We're gonna get one. We're gonna get it. We're gonna get it today. We must do it. We must have it. Voters believe Trump would be better able to handle a nuclear emergency. Duh. Stay alert during meetings. Remember the name of other world leaders. It's really good. It is a classic of political advertising. A red telephone ring at 3 a.m. in the White House. Who would be answering it? Well, not Joe Biden. He's strapped to a CPAP machine. Not Joe Biden is a result of an exclusive new poll that found that 77-year-old Donald Trump is far more trusted to deal with a nuclear crisis or a one-hour summit with Vladimir Putin. Oh, my. Oh, wow. So there's new polling out that shows that the vast preponderance of those polled know that Donald Trump has a brainstem that is functioning, and that Joe Biden is actually suffering from late-stage dementia and is destroying the nation while he suffers and all the rest of us suffer. Not great. But it's good that people have their eyes open. That's why we do this show. Only 38% of voters think Biden will be alive at the end of his second term. Never a great sign. Never a great sign. Hey, Alex, can you get me that Kamala, Joe Biden is alive clip, please? Only 38% of voters think Biden will be alive at the end of his second term, More than a third believe Kamala Harris will be president by 2029 if the 81-year-old is reelected. Oh no, ladies and gentlemen. Uh-oh. Only 38% of likely 2024 voters believe that Joe Biden will live. Never great. It's not great numbers. Those aren't great numbers. That means one thing, Vice President Kamala Harris. You think things are bad now? Oh, if you only knew how bad they could be. If you only knew how bad they really are. Kamala Harris was asked recently by a corporate media reporter, I think CBS, if Joe Biden is going to make it. And Kamala Harris's response to this question really tells you everything you need. Kamala Harris's response is, Joe Biden is very much alive. Here's our nuclear cringe alert for the day.
We were talking to some Democratic donors, and they have told us that should something befall President Biden and he is not able to run, that there would be a free-for-all for who would run as president.
Because Joe Biden is very much alive and running for re-election.
What? Okay. Are you married? You got a girlfriend? What if somebody went up to you, like, what if your buddy called you and like, hey, just ran into your wife at the grocery store. I asked how Joey's doing. And she said, Joey's very much alive. You can be sure of that. He's living. I put a mirror under his nose and it fogged up just this morning. Before I put arsenic in his coffee. Not great, right? Your buddy'd be like, are you okay, man? I think you need to get away from this crazy bee. Never a great sign. Never a great sign. Make sure, ladies and gentlemen, that you stay strapped in case there are crazy people around. There are a lot of crazy people around, okay? That is why we do a segment every single Monday called Monday Gun Day. Let's go. Monday Gun Day brought to you by Spikes Tactical, the preferred AR-15 of the Johnson household. Representative Jim Jordan launched his investigation into Biden administration's Red Flag Law Center. Oh, this is exciting. Get ready. Jim Jordan, chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, launched an investigation on Thursday into Joe Biden's administration's recently announced National Extreme Risk Protection Order Resource Center, or Red Flag Center. Extreme Risk Protection Order is lefty speak for red flag laws. Breitbart News reported that Kamala Harris announced the launch of the center with $750 million in funds that will be given to it. Attorney Merrick Garland praised the launch of the Red Flag Center, saying the launch of the Extreme Risk Protection Order Resource Center will provide our partners across the country with valuable resources to keep firearms out of the hands of individuals who pose a threat. Oh, who would that be? People I disagree with politically. That's who. That's who. The people I disagree with politically. You know how you would stop virtually all firearm crime? Lock up people who have illegal firearms, right? So the people who have illegally obtained firearms. Jonathan Dillard, for instance, is this horrific story of this New York Police Department officer. We talked about it Thursday and Friday. NYPD officer was killed by a career criminal, 27 different arrests. He had a gun that had a serial number filed off. It was a illegal firearm. Okay, it's a legal gun. So lock up the people who are criminals who have the illegal firearms, and then reopen the mental institutions. Yes, really. You want to see what you want to see what happened? So the smooth brain morons who could be manipulated and affected by media like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. You can actually literally track it to that movie, Jack Nicholson movie, about going to a mental institution. And that movie comes out and they close all the mental institutions. Then it provides this political pressure to close all the mental institutions. And what does that mean? The number of people in mental institutions go down to effectively zero. And the number of people that describe themselves as homeless, it is like a perfect inverse parallel relationship, a perfect causality. And what happens when you let all these mentally ill people onto the streets? Well, they harm themselves and others. Reopen mental institutions. Have the guts as a society to say that you are not fit to be in society, be functional in society. You are mentally ill. We deem you mentally ill. And for the good of society, you're not going to be allowed to go out and hurt people. Gun crime would literally go down to zero. If you targeted illegal firearm ownership, not legal firearm ownership, illegal firearm ownership and firearm use, and then you targeted people, you reopened mental institutions, and quite literally got rid of the crazy people, which they've closed them all down and released them onto our streets. And what do you think is going to happen then? That's how you solve something like this. But instead, they're going to open up a Orwellian named National Extreme Risk Protection Order Resource Center in order to take everyone's firearms. If you share the wrong meme, if you like the wrong tweet, then that's it. You can no longer own a firearm. That's how it's going to work. That's how it's going to go. Trust me, this is just the first step. Okay? That's why, ladies and gentlemen, it is so important right now that you practice your Second Amendment rights. If you don't practice your rights, you'll lose them. We practice free speech on this show every single day. We also practice, of course, being a proud firearm owner, carrier, concealed carry permit holder, and so on. This is us practicing our rights, and that means we still have them. Really important, ladies and gentlemen. And we do that with our favorite firearm, Spike's Tactical AR-15, as you can see behind me, even hanging in our studio wall. So don't come a-knocking if you want to stay walking. Ladies and gentlemen, you should walk with us into battle. We battle on this program every single day, every single show. We are out here. We're out here. Should join the Benny Brigade to march with us. BennyJohnson.com/brigade. You can sign up. You can ask us questions. You can ask our guests questions. You can submit questions for our guests. You get a keychain made here in America by American craftsmen and veterans, shipped directly to you. 25% off our whole store. And ladies and gentlemen, you help us stay independent. You help us be able to do shows like today, or we could just say, hey, we're gonna like talk about our faith traditions, and we're gonna talk about like what's true and what it looks like to bear fruit. Actually, like Jesus curses the tree that doesn't bear the good fruit. So what does it look like to actually bear fruit? What does that look like? And so we can do these kind of shows, not to get too far into it, but like it's really important to have the freedom to do these kind of shows. There are places where you cannot do shows like this. And we maintain that freedom by saying independent and by delivering for you. Okay? Also our verse of the day, ladies and gentlemen. Something that we can do, frankly, because we run this joint, right? It's our own independent show. From Ephesians 6:11. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the schemes of the devil. Put on that armor, ladies and gentlemen. Walk with me. March with me. We are marching towards victory. It's your boy Benny. This is the Benny Show. See ya. Happy Easter.